Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Abram Pilch, and I am joined today by, as always, by Associate Editor Les Pounder and by Ash Puckett, our resident Raspberry Pi expert, and our special guest, Andrew DeGonge from 3D Printed Life.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming. Andrew, how are you doing?
Doing great. How about all you?
Not bad. We're ready for around these parts, we got to do a lot of reporting on the Black Friday week. So it's going to be, and has already been, exhausting.
We have a Raspberry Pi deals page already.
And we'll talk about that later, because this is a good time to pick up some things for Raspberry Pi. Every time is a good time, but this is a good time to pick them up at a discount. But first, let's talk about Andrew's project. So, Andrew, you run a YouTube channel called 3D Printed Life. What kinds of things can we find there?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of older content, but I'm kind of ignoring that for now because I've recently rebooted it. And over the past few months, I've been working on all sorts of random robotics projects, for the most part involving Raspberry Pis and some other control board that they communicate with. So the, I guess, coolest projects I've done so far are a card shuffler, which has image recognition and can rig the deck to a specific way you want it. I've done a Nerf gun that can automatically track targets and follow them with the aim, so that you don't have to bother aiming at all. And then, yeah, like the one I have set up today is the Tic-Tac-Toe robot, which was kind of inspired by the whole pandemic lockdown and not having all that much to do. So I created a robot that I could play tic-tac-toe against, but it kind of cheats a lot, which, isn't the greatest. But yeah, so just any sort of interesting Raspberry Pi robotics related projects. How does
it cheat?
So I've programmed two different ways for it to cheat. One of them is by distracting you. So it only has one phrase, so it gets kind of old quick, but it'll throw you off and make you look behind you so that it can take a winning move, even though it wasn't its turn. And then the other way is to wait for you to go and you're like about to, block the robot from winning, and then it'll swat you away with its arm.
Do you have the robot? Do you have the robot to show us?
Yeah, I have it all set up. I can just swing my camera over here. Sorry about this. All right. Well, sorry, I have a pretty cheap webcam, so it's not going to show up super well, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So this one in particular is still mostly controlled over command line, so I have to hit enter on the terminal to start it.
I like that it says "Let's play" at the beginning. It's like an arcade machine or something.
Yeah, so there's the speaker in there. It says all sorts of different stuff, but
I didn't realize it narrated through it before, because when we covered it, I don't think you had any details about that in the Reddit thread.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great. I just had a GIF on the thread, so you can only see it moving. But yeah, in the video, yeah, I go through all the stuff, all the different things it can say. It's got a few variations of some things, but so the bot went first, and I guess I'll try to make it cheat this time. So I'm gonna take the best move I can, which is going in the center. And then this first move takes a while because I actually wrote an AI to calculate all the best moves, and running it on a Raspberry Pi Zero, so it takes a while to run through. I think it's like 60,000 something possible scenarios.
Does it use image recognition to know where you drew your arrow?
Yeah, so there's a camera actually right up here, just out of frame, and that's looking down at the playing area. So the way this does it, it's pretty simple. It just kind of takes an image before and after I make my move. And then it'll check in like each one of these boxes, each one of the empty boxes anyway, and see which one changed the most. And then it will determine that I made my move there. So the bot's gone in the top right and top left. So I'm going to go top middle to block it, which also then will set me up for a win. if the bot doesn't realize it, but hopefully it does. Yep, it did.
I have a question about the image recognition. Is it looking for specifically a circle or just that anything has been put into that area?
No, it's just looking for anything in the area.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of keep it simple.
So do you have to hit a button in between to tell it you've done your turn?
Yeah, so for this project, I'm just having it wait until I hit a button. But actually on one of my newer projects, which is kind of sitting in the background here, I've written an algorithm that'll automatically detect after you've made some kind of change to the scene and then it's settled down. So that's definitely something I could implement in this if I wanted to. All right, so at this point, I'm about to block the bot's last chance to win. So it's entered one of its special cheating modes. So as soon as I go to make my move here, yep.
That's great. That is so sassy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That's great. So how did you physically construct it? Like, where did you get the parts to make the love your view, the parts to actually make the arm? Are those 3D printed? How did you make that stand?
Yeah, pretty much everything here is 3D printed. So the entire base, both the arms are 3D printed. There's a few bearings mixed in there and a bunch of nuts and bolts. But other than that, all bearings. And then actually driving the arm. So I've got 2 NEMA 17 steppers that are in this base in the back of it. One of them is actually driving a belt that's internal to this first arm. Let me just power it off so I can move it around. Sorry about the shaky camera, but yeah, so this first joint here is actually hollow and there's a belt running inside there. And at one end is the NEMA 17 motor, and at the other end, it's kind of fixed to this shaft, which is connected to the second arm. So yeah, one motor is controlling that first arm angle, and then the other motor is inside controlling the second arm.
Wow.
That's really cool.
How complex can it draw? Have you tried having it draw letters and words besides X and O?
Yeah, so actually the control board, so the Raspberry Pi is communicating with an Adafruit Feather actually, and that's running a custom firmware I wrote that is a pretty basic G-code interpreter. So yeah, I've generated some G-code of just random pictures and objects and had to draw those. The drawing quality isn't super great because the printed surface at the bottom is pretty ripply, so you can see that the lines aren't perfectly straight. But yeah, it's able to draw pretty complex stuff.
Wow. That is a really impressive arm. I have to say that as someone who's tried to build 2 different robot arm kits and had them fall apart. The custom, it's hard to get a good arm, and I've not seen anything on the market that really does that. So that's really impressive.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a pretty big pain. The hardest part for sure was just getting this second link here to have a fairly rigid connection to the motor that's in the back underneath, because there's this whole shaft, how this is connected to the printed part. That was a fairly tricky thing to get rigid, and then it's got an internal belt which has to be kept under tension, and if this first arm is moving around at all, that'll change the belt tension internally. So yeah, it was a real pain, but I did a few revisions, and now it's fairly reliable actually.
Wow, that's really impressive. So what's the project behind it?
Yeah, so that's my newest project. So the gimmick with this one is it's a sandwich decruster.
Oh wow!
Embracing the inner child. So I'll do a little bit of flying around motion sickness camera, and then I'll put it down. But the electronics are all sitting on the top here. So I've got a Raspberry Pi 4 in this one, and then I've actually got a custom control board that I made, which I intend to use for pretty much all my projects going forwards. It's just kind of a generic control board. It's got 4 stepper drives. It's got the same processor as the Feather M4, and then a bunch of other peripherals and GPIO stuff.
Useful.
So yeah, that was probably the coolest part in my mind of this project. But then Sorry?
You said you had it made. If I could ask, through what platform? Like, where did you get it made from? Like, did you have to order it, or?
Yeah, so I designed it in KiCad, which is just like an open source PCB design program, and then had it manufactured by JLC PCB. At least they made the bare PCB, and then I assembled it myself. I have a reflow oven that I made myself out of an old toaster oven, so I just use that to reflow.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, this bot it's not powered on right now, but the idea is that it's got an axis here to move the knife up and down. It's got an axis to move the knife back and forth. And then there's a turntable on the bottom here. And then that combined with a camera that is right on the top looking down, it can figure out where your sandwich is and then align it with the knife and chop the crust off.
Have you tested it yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I've actually got my latest YouTube video features that. So, yeah, all that stuff's on my channel. And the actual crust cutting performance was like a little lackluster because I was using this lovely knife, which I bought from the dollar store. And surprisingly, that doesn't work that well. So people on Reddit have spoken, and I've decided I'm going to like redesign the whole knife part to make it actually chop really well. So I'm hoping that in another week or so, we'll have a second version up where it chops through pretty much anything I can throw at it.
That's fantastic.
And I'm showing on the screen the long link to your channel, but probably the easiest way to get there is just to Google 3D printed life or search on YouTube for it. So speaking of things that we can show, Les, this week, our friend Jeff Geerling has come up with like a really, really easy way for us to get better webcams so that Andrew can actually have a better camera without having to go into the webcam market, because right now, and well, who knows as we're talking, but it's the past 8 months or so, like it's been really hard to get a really good quality Logitech webcam. Those things, either they're being scalped for like $150 or you just can't get one. And then sometimes they're in and sometimes they're out. So being able to take a Raspberry Pi and use it as a webcam is a huge plus, particularly if you have the HQ camera. So how do we do that?
Okay, well, today I was watching a video from Jeff Geerling, friend of the show. He's been on twice now, I do believe. And it caught my eye. He was talking about using the Raspberry Pi Zero as a USB gadget. Now, that's not something that's new. It's been around for a while now. But I haven't seen anyone use it in anger. So I actually make a problem. And he showed off today a webcam using the Raspberry Pi HQ camera, the high-quality camera with interchangeable lenses. And the Pi Zero is a USB gadget for this camera, and it just appears on every device I've plugged it into as a USB webcam. Admittedly, it takes about 30 seconds to boot, but not a problem. And the quality is really good. I'm actually talking to you live on it now. This is the quality you can see. This is 1280 by 720. You can set the resolution to 1080p, but I kept it at this because that's our native resolution for the show. So I'm going to show you some slides of how I built it, because I can't show you the camera right now because I'm talking to it. So this is the camera assembly. It's connected to a Pi Hut, like a laser cut frame to hold it together. The Pi Zero's on the back, the HQ camera's on the front, and it's mounted to just a standard dollar store tripod, nothing special. The Pi Zero I'm using is the 1.2 or 1.3, which has no Wi-Fi whatsoever. It's just a simple serial USB device that plugs into the machine. And what Jeff has done, he's taken the instructions which were done by another person. Let's see, it was Justin, I do believe. And Justin's instructions were really concise and they had lots of detail to them. The problem was it was just a little too much to follow to get a consistent result. So Jeff, in his wisdom, has created an Ansible install script, which is super easy to install. And I've got a link to the page now you can see on the screen. And he explains how to download his software, how to get it to run on just a bare Raspberry Pi. So you download the software, You clone the GitHub repository, you install the software, and it just sets everything up ready to go as a USB device. Plug it in, and on my Linux machine and on this Windows machine I'm on now, it just appears as USB device ready to go. Super simple. And you can even unplug it and plug it back in, and you're not going to corrupt the SD card. And I love it. It's really good quality, and it's super simple to do, as I've said on multiple occasions. But please have a go. There's Jeff's website there, GitHub address. Have a go, see what you think. All you need is a Raspberry Pi HQ camera, a Pi 0, or you could use a Pi 4, a 3B Plus, and possibly a 3A Plus. We do need to test that at Tom's Hardware to make sure about that. But they should all appear as USB gadgets that we can just plug in and treat it as a webcam.
Wow.
The frame rate's not
That's
bad.
all. Yeah, that solves a significant problem, right? Because rather than having to deal with a crappy webcam or Logitech, or not being able to get a really good one like the Logitech C920 that I'm talking to you on right now, then you can use your Raspberry Pi, and that's pretty cool. Previously, we had put up an article on this, but on how to use your Pi as a webcam, but it was much more complicated. You're trying to use it sort of like a stream and get the stream in, which is not, which introduces latency. So this is really perfect. Great. And consider this. I mean, the Pi HQ camera is $50, and then I guess you would have to spend more to get a lens, so maybe $25, $30 for a lens. But even that $80, $90 is probably less than you pay for a Logitech webcam on the market, and you get a better picture. Or you could get the V2 camera module, which is, I think you can get on Amazon in the US now for about $23. So and
don't forget the HQ camera, you can have interchangeable lenses. So you've got an adapter to connect it to Eon and Nikon lenses. I've got a Canon one somewhere. So you can actually plug this into a telescope and take astrophotography. Okay, that's Ash's train. Hello. You can plug it in. You can take photographs of the stars. You can take photographs of planets. You can do time lapse with this. Just change the lens, and away you go. Whereas with a C920, you're pretty much fixed to one simple lens.
Yeah, it's that's really great. So I want to ask Ash about her latest background, exciting background.
Let me unmute. If you hear the train, that's all I don't know, just ignore it. So I wanted to show you guys this awesome RGB matrix panel, because I see a lot of Raspberry Pi projects, over the years that use them, but I haven't actually taken the time to sit down and check one out myself. So I didn't know how easy it would be. I expected, it was a Google away. And I was right. It's really, really easy to set up. I've got a little image going by right now, scrolling by with the PiCast logo. And I want to show you guys behind the panel. I'm going to switch my camera over. So it's running on a 3B Plus. And on top, this right here is an Adafruit bonnet. I'm going to turn it towards you. And what this does is it makes it really easy to connect your RGB matrix to the Pi. It gets power over here from the side using this barrel connector. And of course, the Pi needs its own power source. It still uses the USB port, but it connects directly to the back of this panel. Now this is a 64x32, so it's more like, go this way, 232x32 panels, and that is kind of how it responds in the code. But I wanted to show you guys also, let me switch back here, how easy it is to change something in real time. So I've got my terminal window. No, I don't. I will. There it is. I've got my terminal window here on the Raspberry Pi behind me, and it's using a sample script from Adafruit. Let me get it to stop. And as you can see, it stopped running the code, but I can run another test to show a static image, or they've got a few other samples, but I can also, I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties on my screen that you can't see. But you can run all their different samples, or you can make your own script in Python. The sample script I have on my screen up here, it shows how they use the Adafruit library that comes with this bonnet to create the scroll effect. And of course, you can add your own assets. And it's a really simple project, and it's fun to. I'm sorry, I'm having.
So Andrew, have you worked with LED matrices at all?
I haven't, but I'm sure I can integrate those into one of my upcoming projects in an interesting way.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun to use them for things. I have some great ambitions. So far, the main thing I've done is build a platformer game that runs on a Matrix hat from Pimoroni, and I'm almost ready to release it. Every few days, my son and I add a new feature. Like now it supports controllers, so you can now we have 4 levels. We originally only had 1. We had to find, because we want to put it out there, we had to find music and sounds that were not actual Nintendo sounds. It's fun. I really want to come up with some way of doing an information wall behind me with 3 or 4 of those together. I'm not sure what information it'll be, but something cool. Something cool that's being piped in from the internet. What exactly? I'm not sure. So, as everybody knows, this week is the peak shopping week of the year, and it is a great time to pick up things not only for other people but for your Raspberry Pi habit. Andrew, is there anything that you're shopping for to improve your Pi life?
Ooh, I don't know. I'll just see what there is on sale, but I'm definitely going to get another Pi Zero, maybe another Pi 4 if I can justify a use for it.
Yeah, that's one thing that you rarely see on sale is the actual board, although you will find starter kits on sale. But if you're an advanced user like yourself, you probably don't need a starter kit. But for people, if you're buying a gift for someone who's just getting started, you can usually find some better prices on starter kits, which will come with things like the power supply and a case and a fan and wires.
Accessories that you might not think of, things like helping hands or a soldering iron, breadboards, jumper wires. There's all kinds of stuff outside of just things labeled with Pi that are really useful that I'm adding to our list of Raspberry Pi deals on Tom's Hardware.
What are you shopping for? Looking to see if it's cheap, Ash.
I want that. It's like a robot kit by Yaboom or something like that, and it has the tread tires on it. I see they keep marking it down.
That's the same one I want.
I want it to keep going lower. Yeah,
yes, that's the same one I want. My son and I have been looking at the various Pi robot kits that you can get, and we would really like to get the Yaboom tank if it drops below a certain price.
I just love the tire tread. It's so cool. It's got actual tracks like a tank.
Yeah.
But the tilt where you can have the camera on it and everything, and the sensors, you could do so much more than just drive it around. You can make it respond to stuff, have it be automated, run around your house.
There are a lot of, for those who are looking for cool projects, and there usually are sales on Pi robot kits, and there are usually a few kinds. It's usually cars, spiders, or a couple of tanks. And you can obviously, if you're really good at making things like Andrew is, you probably don't need a kit because you're just gonna get components and put them together and 3D print things. But if you want something that's guaranteed to work, without then getting a robot kit is good. That is the number one thing that I'm looking for. But I'm also always looking for stuff that I think I might need. Sometimes I'll get like a hat because it's on a good deal, and I'm like, I don't know what project I'm using this for yet, but I know I'll be using it. This is really basic, but to your point about electronics, I'm also looking for a cheap wire crimping set because I don't have a wire crimper, and I feel like I could use one of those.
It will change your life.
Les, how about you? What are you shopping for this Black Friday?
I'm heavily into arcade cabinets and arcade games and retro gaming itself. So, as you can see behind me, there's my Picade, and that has been pimped over the years. It's got a different back controller on the top, a fluorescent pink. But I want to put lights inside it, and you can get add-on lights for the Pimoroni Picade. I forget the name of them now, but they have RGB LEDs inside them that you can control from the Picade X hat. So inside there's a Pi 3, but I'd like to put a Pi 4, a Picade X, some cooling for the Pi 4 as well, that'd be handy, and these light-up buttons to make it all flashy. And I would really love, and I don't know anyone who makes this, so I need to do a bit of research, but at the top where you've got the marquee, I would really like to have that animated, so a screen of some sort, the whole width if possible. So when you play a game, and there are versions of Retro Pi and Lacquer which have this feature, the dual screens, where you have the game on the main screen, but you have the marquee animated above as a second monitor. And I have seen that working with just a standard 1080p monitor, but I would like it for just a nice bezel monitor. What
about an LED matrix?
That also works. Yes, you can use that. And I have got some of those, what Ash has got, the Hub 75, I think they are, screens. And I've just ordered from Pimoroni a day ago, the Adafruit, what's it called now? My brain. I could just go back. The Matrix Portal, which is a Circuit Python board. And you just put this board on the back of a Hub 75, chain them together, provide them power, and writing Circuit Python, you can have it do whatever you want. So I could use something like that. But I have my heart set on an LCD screen. I want animated things like the Contra guys running across the screen shooting things and Mario jumping down pipes. That'd be ace.
That sounds really cool.
That would be awesome. So there definitely are a lot of opportunities here to get stuff. Les, did you? What are some of the sales that we know about right now that people can take advantage of?
Well, I know there is a sale happening tomorrow at Pimoroni for Picade and arcade equipment, and that starts in the morning about 9 a.m. UK time. And they're going to have pretty much all of our arcade range at different prices or lower prices, including Picade machines, so you can get yourself a bargain. So you can get the 8-inch Picade for a really cheap price, or you can go for the really big 10-inch screen version. The 8-inch is what I've got behind me there. You can also get all the add-on buttons, all the connections, all the stuff, the bits and pieces that go inside your Picade to make it easy, like the crimped connections for the common ground and wiring for the buttons, and all the hats as well.
That's useful.
Really cool. Also, as we mentioned on last week's show, there is a 20% off coupon on Adafruit right now, which which is still going on. All you have to do is enable, if it isn't already enabled, two-factor authentication on your Adafruit account. If you don't have an Adafruit account, you can sign up for one, and then you can use the coupon code SECURED at checkout, and you'll get 20% off almost everything. Not actual pies, because I guess those can't really go below a certain price, but pretty much everything else. I bought this Braincraft hat last week at 20% off that we were showing on the last show. Really fun for artificial intelligence testing. You can get the screen to show different things, to show your image recognition. You can use their tutorials to set up voice recognition. and my son and I have been having so much fun playing with this. And there's just a lot. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff there. So really cool. So, Andrew, what is the next project that you're working on? What do you have coming down the pipe?
So yeah, besides fixing the crust cutting bot, which that should be done in a week. After that, I have not actually like 100% sure what I'm doing next. I usually don't figure it out until like the day before I start it. And then I just kind of hope I have the parts I need. But one of my plans is to, unfortunately, doesn't use a Raspberry Pi, but it's to make a really insane rapid fire Nerf blaster. So I'm aiming for something above 50 shots per minute coming out of a single barrel, which is going to be like a very complex mechanical challenge, but I think would be cool. And then other than that, I do have a plan to make some kind of, not sure what to call it. It'd almost be like a display, but it would be using drops of water in a like thin oil plane. So it's kind of like there's those old toys, which is like oil and water, and like, you know, you turn it upside down and the little drops will come down and they'll go down slides and stuff. So the idea would be to use a whole bunch of little solenoids and then time those precisely so that it will release a bunch of drops, and then at a certain time you'll have like just an image of whatever you're trying to display. So if I do go forwards with that one will definitely be using a Pi.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to thank Andrew for coming. You can check out his YouTube channel, 3D Printed Life, if by going to YouTube and searching for 3D Printed Life. As always, thanks to all of you for who tuned in live. We will be here. We are here every Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. British time, and we will see you next week. Yeah.
Bye.